Hi everyone. Do you want to learn how to greet a new business contact in English? Well, if you do, I'll tell you how to do it in this easy step-by-step guide. So, let's begin. Step 1. Shake hands. Around the world, people have different greetings. Here in Thailand, people normally Y each other as a formal greeting. But in English-speaking countries, more than likely, you need to shake hands. How do I give a good handshake in English? Let me tell you the rules of the handshake. First rule, always use your right hand. The story goes that a long time ago, before we had taps and running water to clean our hands, people used to keep their right hand clean for eating food. The left hand was used for something else. So even today, it's considered impolite if you offer your left hand, even if you're left-handed. Next point. Shake hands firmly. A strong handshake suggests a strong, honest, trustworthy person. A weak handshake suggests, well, yes, a weak, shifty, maybe dishonest person. So shake hands firmly, but of course not too firm. Next point. Shake hands for about 2 to 3 seconds, maybe 2 to 3 hand pumps up and down. Any less and it appears maybe you don't care. Any more, maybe you're getting up close and personal a little bit too much. When you shake hands, you need to introduce yourself. Good morning, my name's Mike Bright. Good afternoon, my name's Mike Bright. Good evening, my name's Mike Bright. Or perhaps slightly less formal, a little bit more friendly. Hello, my name's Mike Bright. You can see there that I try to say my name's, rather than my name is. My name is for formal written English. My name's apostrophe S for spoken English. But what do you say when someone shakes your hand? You need to say your name and you need to greet your newfound friend as well. Pleased to meet you, Mr. Bright. My name's Alan Davis. Pleased to meet you. Pleased to meet you. Or as an alternative, you can use any of these. Nice to meet you. Good to meet you. Great to meet you. It's a pleasure to meet you. To be very polite, as it's the first time of meeting, use the person's title plus their last name. For example, Mr. Bright, Mrs. Bright, Miss Bright, Ms. Bright. That's their title and their last name. Sometimes your new contact will suggest using their first name like this. Oh, please call me Mike. In which case you can reply, okay, Mike. It's not unusual for the second person to return the greeting something like this. Nice to meet you, Mr. Bright. Nice to meet you too, Mr. Davis. In this conversation, you might notice they repeat their new contact's names. Why do they do this? Well, it will probably help them remember someone's name if they repeat it at the time of the first meeting. So now we know how to introduce ourselves, but how about introducing two people who have never met before? Imagine at this meeting, person A, Mr. Adams, knows person B, Mr. Bright. Mr. Adams also knows person C, Mr. Cleverly. But Mr. Bright and Mr. Cleverly don't know each other. They have never met before. In this situation, it's a good idea if Mr. Adams introduces Mr. Bright to Mr. Cleverly and Mr. Cleverly to Mr. Bright. How can he do that? First of all, he turns and looks at Mr. Bright. Mr. Bright, I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Cleverly. And then he turns to Mr. Cleverly and says, Mr. Cleverly, this is Mr. Bright. Or as an alternative, Mr. Bright, I don't think you've met Mr. Cleverly. Mr. Cleverly, this is Mr. Bright. Now, all they have to do is shake hands. Nice to meet you, Mr. Bright. Nice to meet you too, Mr. Cleverly. And that's it. Well, almost. As Mr. Bright and Mr. Cleverly don't know each other, there might be an awkward silence. Because they have nothing to say to each other, they don't have any common interests. Mr. Adams can help out by saying something interesting about one of them, or introduce a topic that they may have in common. Mr. Bright works for ABC plc. It's the biggest marketing company in Bangkok. Mr. Cleverly says, Oh, really? I love Bangkok. I've been there many times. Where is your office located? Mr. Bright says, On Wireless Road, near to the SkyTrain station. And Mr. Cleverly says, Oh, I know it well. The idea is they can begin their own conversation and make some small talk before getting on with the main business of the meeting. And talking of small talk, that's going to be the topic in the next video. So please don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notifications so that you can find out when the next video is uploaded. Also, while you're here, if you are a company in Bangkok and you'd like some business English lessons in your offices, leave me a message in the comments below and I will get in touch with you. Thanks for listening.